Hello and welcome to the Metaphor ReFantazio Spoilercast. I am your host this time, Dr. Agro, and I am joined by my co-host, Bob Video Games.
The cursed boy formerly known as Prince.
It's just me and Bob this time, because this is over a 100-hour RPG and it's November.
Yeah.
This time we are looking at, as I said, Metaphor ReFantazio, a JRPG put out by Atlus's internal creative department, third production, also known as Studio Zero. But before we really get into that, if you've never listened to a GigaBoots Spoilercast before, the basic structure of this show is that each of us is going to give a slight summary, a broad overview of the thing we experienced, and then express how we felt about it with a possibly amorphous mouth sound to really get at the core of the emotional experience. I think this time, by process of elimination, we're going to start with Bob.
What? Me? Metaphor is like cramming a entire 52-plus episode anime from the 90s down my throat as an RPG. It is kind of wonderful. I'm going to give it a wow.
Metaphor ReFantazio is a lot. It's a lot of things, and a lot of them are really good. I'd give it a So, Bob, on the subject of this game being enormous, my final clear data file was 110 hours and 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's right around where mine was. I want to say like 110 or 120 maybe. I can't remember exactly.
I was at about 96 hours when I'm like, yeah, I said on Discord, no, I'll be ready for this. I'm in the last dungeon.
Yeah. That's what you thought.
Uh-huh. I saved before the last boss, and then I saved after the last boss, because beating the last boss wasn't the last section of the game. 2 hours. That was a 2-hour fight.
I mean, technically...
There was a little section in the middle, which is also... that game.
Yeah, no, they want to make sure everything is fully wrapped up, fully, like, we're not going back. That was it. We're done, and we got every single word we could out.
And they lived happily ever after. Don't believe us?
You want to see that?
So, getting it out up front, I have played like an hour of Persona 3 on the Vita, and that's it. So this is one of those situations where I don't know how Persona this game is. I assume pretty, but because I'm not familiar with the things that came before it, I might have a lot of like, oh, and I thought this was really brilliant. Yeah, that's been in every Persona game ever.
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of things from Persona 3 through 5 in here, but it does do its own twists on many of them and kind of improves a ton of different parts of it. Like, typically in Persona, you get one main town. In this, you go through, like, I think, what is it, 4 by the end of it?
5.
5, yeah. I always forget one of them.
Yeah, nobody remembers Martyra. That place sucks.
It did set completely different expectations for everything else in the game than what came after it, honestly. It was like, yeah, everything else is going to be like a weird small town. The first town is really different from the rest.
Oh, man, if Martyra set expectations for the rest of the game, I'd be looking over my shoulder for the shadow baby every time I stepped into a dungeon. That thing was uncalled for.
Yeah, I honestly was like, it's going to be like a Nessie baby, right? When it was chasing me around, and then when they reveal it, they're like, oh no, this is something way worse than that.
Honestly, like when you got the full light of day Hieronymus Bosch thing, I'm like, oh, okay, it's a weird baby monster. The first time you see it, you walk into the sewers, and you go down one hallway, and the lights flicker. And off to the side, past the iron bars, is the giant shadow baby.
Yes.
So rarely in a JRPG do I have that, oh, I'm in the wrong fucking neighborhood feeling.
Yeah, they did a good job of making each dungeon feel really different. Like, that one is like, yeah, it's a horror movie sometimes. You just hide.
It's a fact for what really could have been just asset copy and paste, especially even the smaller dungeons. Like every weird cave or tomb felt actually bespokely designed, which shouldn't be a weird thing to say about a video game, but here we are in the present.
Yeah. I mean, those side dungeons reuse a bunch of assets, but they do feel like well thought out layout wise and have good rewards in them, which really helps.
I was really surprised to see the like you keep looping back and opening up like doors from the other side and shortcuts. I can't tell you the number of times I just went, oh, so it's just like Dark Souls.
Since it's your first one of these kind of games, did you end up using more than 1 day per dungeon?
For some of them, some of the bigger ones, I'd have to, stop, go back for mana, and go back to the Magla Hollow.
Mm-hmm.
It really surprised. Like I went into the first dungeon, I have no idea how these games work. So I'm like, yes, I will do a dungeon. And in the first dungeon, you get a bunch of mana restoratives right off the bat. So I'm like, yeah, I know how to do this. This is normal JRPG stuff. And then like a section later, those stop coming back. And I'm like, guys, where's all my mana shit?
Yeah, and then you get back to town. It's like, yeah, we don't sell those. Are you crazy?
I'm like, no, you're not supposed to do that till disc 2. What's going on? By then, I unlocked the Brawler, which, oh man, that was, I about killed a couple characters before I figured out that thing's physical attacks cost HP.
Yes, it's like a dual-edged sword of, it's nice that they do because it's easier to restore HP than it is MP, as we just went over. But real easy to mostly kill yourself.
I am really thankful that I got to play SMT5 Vengeance earlier this year. So I understood the press turn system and the way they do elemental damage. Because having to learn that and the Persona calendar system at the same time might have been a bit overwhelming.
It's good to have some introduction to, you have been deflected or missed. You will now just die.
I feel like it's a little less punishing than that game is with the whole, you win in the first turn or I'm taking half your resources. Yeah,
a little less because in Shin Megami, you can just go back to a save point and heal up and all that. Whereas this, they're like, that ain't a thing.
It's like throughout the entire game, I never fully trained myself on that idea. I'd be in the middle of a dungeon and think, oh, okay, I need to get to a save point so I can, oh, fuck, there's nothing for me in here.
I can listen to one line of dialogue from my teammates.
I can watch Heismay jump up to the ceiling and hang upside down. I mean, that's worth it.
That's pretty worth it. I was honestly like not sure how many party members to expect in this game, but because there were enough chairs, but then Heismay jumps into the ceiling and stuff like that. I was like, okay, how is this going to work?
Like it goes on for long enough to where I'm like, okay, okay, it can't just be 3 people and we keep job switching. That's a bit much. We get Heismay and it's just you, Hulkenberg, Stroll, and Heismay for so long that I'm like, are we done?
Right, is this the squad?
Is this it? I mean, that's a bold idea. Nobody left out.
God, it would have been kind of crazy to have to juggle that many jobs they introduced across just 4 characters.
Man, these characters, not a miss in the bunch.
No, really not.
Design-wise and mechanically. Like the one I used the least was Juna, and even then, by the end of the game, I'm like, oh, wait, no, you are essential for some of these fights.
Yeah, no, I definitely, for all endgame stuff, I was like, no, Juna's got to be here. Like, some of her...
Nothing's weak to anything anymore.
Yes, she does that, and she has some of the crazy moves, like some of her combo moves let her make everyone get the charge or boosted status. And that's so necessary.
Yeah. I did really enjoy how in the Atlus tradition of like, no, this isn't Pokemon. Use the buff moves. They fucking matter.
Yeah, they're so essential.
Right alongside here's your tank character. She's a knight. Oh, okay. Oh, wait, no, she really takes less damage. Oh, man, like I never took Hulkenberg off the team. Ever. Like I put her back into knight and she stayed in that slot.
Yeah, she's really useful. I think that for some of the end game fights, I had to, like, I replaced her with Heisme with the dodge ability and the knight ability to have things aim at him, so that he could dodge something and be like, "Oh, you guys don't get any turns now."
Yeah, that was really great. Honestly, I just left her on the having a high chance to repel attacks.
Yeah, that's also really helpful.
It's so nice when it goes off. Honestly, I think a bunch of the final fights taking as long as they did for me was because of the way I played it. I played it very conservatively. I had a rotation, and every turn was, you do this. It was like Juna gave it a weakness. Stroll did his Ice Fortress move from the General archetype, where it hits them with ice and gives them a weakness to ice. I went full magic with the main character, so he hit him with ice, and then Hulkenberg, Night Proclamation. Rinse, repeat, immortality.
Yeah, you kind of, it feels like for some of those endgame fights, you have to be cautious. Like, I tried things that were less cautious and didn't go well, and I ended up wasting 30 minutes sometimes.
My God. Yeah, no, I had to restart that 3-face boss fight a couple of times. I was like, oh, but I was doing it for 20 minutes before the RNG fucked me.
Because of how much I optimized myself for those dragon boss fights, this extra secret ones, I was not challenged at all by any of the actual end boss fights.
Oh my God. So those, all right. This was the one time where I really didn't like the calendar system.
Oh, yeah?
Because through most of the game, I thought it's a fascinating way to both really scale, like a lot of times in JRPGs, and the same thing happens in D&D. You just lose track of how long this adventure is unless you're meticulously keeping a calendar. So the fact that this game takes place over a number of months is like present. It's part of the story. It's in the character's mind. It's really cool. Until you get to the end of the game and you run out of days to fight the extra dragon bosses.
Oh. Oh, that sucks. I had an extra 10 or 11 days after all the stuff where I was just like, okay, we're just gonna hang. But that's from my experience with having played these type of games many times.
I think I dramatically overestimated, or rather underestimated, how many more opportunities or things turning in, or automatically I would get the Royal Virtue upgrades. So I bombed a few of those early to get certain follower conversations. And by the end, I had one more day left to do the third dragon. But I still had a quest to go see the noble that was part of what is his name?
Stroll?
Cuculus, his real name. The follower that gives you the Faker archetype.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. You know, I had a list of them up. I'm just going to pull it up. The list does not include those. Darn it.
Oh, no. Whatever his name is like, oh, this is my real name. I'm like, that's not as cool. Anyway, I have you get a quest to go after you've got rank 8 and that's all wrapped up. You have a quest to go meet that guy in Brylehaven at night and like go do a thing. The last day, I'm like, okay, I can fight this dragon, but I probably really need to wrap this up. It's the last thing for my followers. So I just spend the morning doing some bullshit and go to Brylehaven, and he's not there.
What?
I never got to finish that quest.
Oh, here I was thinking, oh man, they were so lenient with this. They gave me so many extra days. And then you got in this position. That sucks.
One of the final parts of the game where before you go off to confront Luis and you're running around town talking to all your companions and they're like giving you tchotchkes because of how much your relationship means. Yeah, that was, I didn't get a tchotchke for that one. And I'm like, would that nobleman have been hanging around to give me a tchotchke, or do I not get a tchotchke because they're dead?
Do you want me to tell you?
Yes.
He's
not dead, right?
They're not dead.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's
like that story wrapped up and we did a second story and they're still saying he's dead. I'm like, game, are you fucking kidding me? You didn't really, like, I'm not like, oh my God, you did it, you killed him. I'm like, no, you didn't kill him and you need to tell me because this is going on too long.
Yes, that's how it feels. It's a bunch of like, okay, you've had your extra story beat where you've reaffirmed he's dead. I still don't believe you. Because that doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm. What's this character's one thing? No, he's totally dead.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. That makes me not finishing that quest even worse. I assume he's just hanging out in his hometown. Like, any minute now.
He's gonna figure
Where's
it
the
out.
sky red?
Oh well, that got better. It's been a full year. Where is he?
So I'd mentioned this on Big Think. One thing that I found really interesting is that for most of the game, because of the press turn system, because of the way combat is structured, the boss fights were often a lot easier than like the mid-big enemies in random dungeons for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because oftentimes those, like you're fighting a different mix of enemies, and it's one of the things in JRPGs is sometimes the difficulty is the game. Like if you go into a menu and change all this shit, that fight will be easier. I'm like, okay. But I can still beat it if I don't do all that, right? Because I don't want to open the menu and change all that shit. So yeah, like if you're stubborn and lazy, sometimes the regular enemies are really tough because you're set up to fight this one kind and the other kind has a bunch of weaknesses you don't have.
Yeah, that can happen. I ended up like having a few sets of like, okay, this guy's good with most of these jobs, and I need to switch him when I get to this dungeon because I know that this dungeon needs this because they have all those things where I was like, oh yeah, this report will tell you about the enemies there. Mm-hmm. And that helped me better balance for that. But there definitely were times where it's like, yeah, no, that mini boss that there's like 100 of. He's just annoying to fight because his health bar is huge.
Oh my God. In the Royal Palace, the section where you're in like the garden and there's the big black human ear in the middle. I'm sorry, there's one on either side you have to go kill.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The fish enemy in that area. Mm-hmm. The fish with human feet. That was the first enemy I just started going around. Fuck those things. Like, what's up? I've got a world map kick attack that comes out at an indiscernible rate. Like, here's the little white flash to let you know I'm doing an attack. When's the attack coming after that? Nobody knows. What are we doing turn one? I'm fucking, my agility's going super high. Good luck getting a turn.
Yeah, though, when he ambushes you like that with the kick, it is kind of rough. I had become OP by then because I had beaten the 3 dragons. And so you don't feel too bad. There is another thing after that. So you need yet another day to actually finish that side quest.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I went up the tower for the first dragon. Mm-hmm. Fought him. Died. Went, no. I'm like, okay, these must be some ridiculous special extra boss for sickos. So I just went into I went to the Skybound Avatar. I'm like, let's just wrap the game up. and then the game wasn't wrapped up. And I came back down. I'm like, you know what, baby? I'll go try that dragon again now.
Something I should have told you about, which I kept meaning to but forgot to. Something that would really help with those dragons is getting all the golden beetles and turning them into the guy.
I was like 7 beetles short of getting one of the... Did he give out some fireproof gear?
He gave out fireproof gear and some dragon sword or something like that.
Yeah, no, I only got a couple pieces from him ever. I was apparently not great at the beetles. I
actually had to just... Because I've always found them in the dungeons. Like, that was no problem because they're on the map. Mm-hmm. But I had to just look up like a guide for where all of the ones in town are.
Yeah, I found like 3 in Brylehaven. I'm like, oh, these are in cities. Oh, I'm fucked.
Yeah, no, I just had to go through literally everyone like that. I was like, yeah, I had like 3 of these total throughout the entire game. So those are really cool, but I got them all after having beaten every dragon.
Mm.
And they are specifically items made to fight dragons. The reward is really cool for doing all the dragon stuff, though.
Mm-hmm.
They literally make the main character's sword that he flies around on, like his messenger sword or whatever.
Yeah.
They make it into a lightsaber.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just the old
That's
school,
the best.
like, no, this is just Tenchi now.
Oh my god. Speaking of references, how fucking cool was it that a lot of the elite archetypes were just references to other Atlus games?
Yeah, that was really great. Was it Soul Hacker, Devil Summoner?
Soul Hacker.
My favorite is Persona Master, because when she says it, she yells Persona like they do in Persona games, and then really quickly at the end is like, oh, Master.
And then like one of her synthesis is just like her pulling out a card and a gun.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, and then the Devil Summoner class having nothing, like having all of the literal Shin Megami Tensei devils to summon.
Mm-hmm. That would just hearing Yufa shout Mothman was one of the best things in this game.
Man, I don't think I actually used Mothman. I kept using Jack Frost and Black Frost.
It's still remarkable that you had all these different jobs, and I just much like the base characters themselves, I'd be hard pressed to find a dud among the lot. They all do something really good and useful in this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
like when Stroll had to go into the just buff line. I was like, oh, like General Warlord. I'm like, oh man, really? I have to give my big physical damage hitter into just a straight buff line. I'm sorry. It does what?
Yeah, he buffs the whole party.
Uh-huh. Move everyone back, raise defense. Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if there are any that I just didn't use much, and it's like the closest thing to not being useful is Summoner, but that's great for random enemy encounters, just not good against bosses.
I found Summoner pretty useful against bosses because it'll hit a weakness and do a debuff some of the moves.
Yeah, it does have some of those.
She was also really good. Like I would sub in a couple of healing spells on her. So like if I didn't want to spend 88 mana on Harvest God.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just really one that you need to pair with extra abilities, which again, another great system of like, yeah, of course you want to level up every one of these jobs. They get you just base stat upgrades, and they let you take any of the abilities over to other jobs.
Mm-hmm. Well, most of the abilities.
Yeah. It was only limited on what? The Prince?
Yeah, I really wanted, what was it, Hero's Cry? That gives you 4 extra turn icons. I'm like, let me put it on Elemental Master, you son of a bitch. I'll buy DLC. Just let me do it.
Yeah, when I saw that it was a physically based thing for the final one, I was like, oh, aggro's not happy.
Yeah, that's not great. And it wouldn't have been that bad. Like, if I had understood something else, which is apparently your stats are nowhere near as important to your damage in this game as they are in like SMT games.
Mm-hmm.
Like maxing out your damage stat in this game is easy. Like I had a bunch of like my stats. It was like whatever plus this, and it was reading at 99, but I had way the Elemental Master was giving me way more magic than I needed to cap.
In SMT games, it counts that and like goes over. Do you know if it goes over in this or not?
It didn't display that it went over.
Okay, it might still affect it.
Or it may, I don't know. Either way, I still wasn't putting up like crazy more numbers than the regularly statted NPC characters.
Yeah.
I've read unsubstantiated forum posts that it's way more tied to your weapon stats.
I guess that would make sense because it is this whole switching job system. They don't want you to be too locked in.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave the Prince the best moves in the game, so you have to switch.
I didn't even get like his last big human thing because I used his first one. I'm like, this is extra damage against. Oh, this sucks so hard. Because like, let me tell you, like I just got done saying having super stats isn't like the crazy win button, but having low stats is not good.
Mm-hmm.
Additionally, having the wizard line tied to Galaga sucked because I couldn't just bomb her
follower events.
No, they were tied to the story.
Yep. Yeah, I just had the Hulkenberg doubled as the knight in the wizard for me, so I had to switch her back and forth frequently, and that ended up working out pretty well.
It's the impression I get from the stuff I've been reading is that's what a lot of people did because they're not wizard sickos like I am.
Right.
Like the game starts and it's like, okay, here's your knight character and your warrior character. I'm like, this is okay. I've got 2 warriors and a knight. Am I not supposed to be a wizard? I feel like you're telling me to be a wizard.
You're supposed to be the seeker.
Yeah, no, it's like, this is a well-balanced class that does support and a little healing. I'm like, oh, that's trash. It's not. I learned that later. It's pretty great.
Yeah, even I didn't use Seeker much. I think Yufa got more training in Seeker than my main character.
Mm-hmm.
I maxed him out on like healer.
Yeah, I did a lot of healer early. Like I put points into healer and seeker for him so I could get the light and the wind spells. When I say elemental master, I'm not fucking kidding.
Right? It's like you have all these tools, so you can do that for every character. Oh, you just want the one to have all of them? All right, man, if you say so.
I think one of the in-game tooltips is like the wizard line is really good for hitting weaknesses, but it doesn't do great damage. I'm like, it does when it's my main character, and I have dumped points into magic. Sometimes I don't hit things because I've neglected to up my agility, but man, when I do.
And you're telling me you have issues. I have some issues with the difficulty later.
I eventually course corrected by the end of the game. I did love how early on there was a disparity where everything cost way more money than I had, but mag fell from the sky. I didn't even count it. Like, oh, how much does this count to learn? I don't care. Hit the button. By the end of the game, I'm wandering around Grand Trad like, I'll suck yo dick for mag, my man. What do you say? You and me behind the tavern. Let's go.
Yeah, the stuff near the end of the game where with all those classes unlocked, those cost so much.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like they kind of had a good balance on feeling the need for getting the regular currency in that.
Yeah, that's really the sweet spot where you feel like you want it, and they'll give it to you, but you've got to work for it. I oh my god, I imagine there's a timeline where there's a version of this game where you max out an archetype and they don't give you an archetype XP item every time you hit a new level in it.
Oh, yeah, that'd be a nightmare.
Yeah.
I actually was able to max out a bunch of the classes because during the final set of things, like it's past the main end of the game. It's into the second final area where you're on like the moon or something. You do all those refights. I got to the point where I was strong enough to kill basically everything there without doing the turn-based combat. So that was just me running back and forth across the lands, killing everything.
I felt like I was close because like all those fights were trivial. Like, honestly, I think this game could have done without the entire Tyrant Star section. It
needed
felt
to be
weirdly
cut down.
out of place.
Like we didn't need every refight. Like that was what killed it, honestly. Like I think it's a really cool looking environment, and I'd love to be like, oh yeah, 2 screens of this, and then we do the final boss. That'd be great.
like it's really cool looking, but it's also weird. Like I don't know if Persona games do this, but this felt really Final Fantasy-y. Where it's like we're just gonna have the weird last area that is totally different from everything else, that has nothing to do with anything else. And then Luis is like, you can't kill me. I'm a Final Fantasy boss now.
Yes. I don't think Personas actually do this, and I do think it is more towards the Final Fantasy sort of thing, because honestly, this is the strongest villain they've had. I don't feel like any of the Persona villains match up to this guy.
Well, I imagine none of the Persona villains were Griffith.
Yeah, no, that helps.
Yes. Like you can't just do that, my guy. I hate him already. Congratulations.
I'm not too well versed in it, but I think that they've been stealing Griffiths for SMT games for like since the Super Nintendo. And they may have been named Luis.
It's a solid strategy.
Yes. God, I love that part very near the end of the game when they do the pretending that your whole party has died. And
God, where it just goes full on end of Sailor Moon season 1.
I wouldn't know.
Aw.
But you confront Luis again when it's just Gallica and your main character. And Gallica sits there in like disrobes this man verbally.
Yes. Oh my God, get his ass.
It's so much that he's like, we're fighting now. I don't have any comeback. Die.
She's like, you could call it libertarian all you want. You're just an idiot. Which I think it's time we need to start talking about this game's stance on the divine right of kings and the power of people to affect their own governance.
I do feel like that's fair. It does get a little muddled with its message with you being descendant of kings.
Like, I remember late in the game, in one scene, Gallica's like, yeah, because you're the prince's friend? I immediately went, oh, they're brothers. They're brothers, and you're secretly a prince. I could not fucking believe it. Oh my God. Are you telling me this super nice but kind of bland OP pro tag with heterochromia was the prince's OC this whole time?
Yeah, that was a lot.
Then you evolve into silver-haired OC.
I actually started suspecting something was completely wrong with the narrative in the second town. We said it earlier. Martira. There was just a lot of energy of like, oh man, this is all for the prince. The prince, he's going to do everything right. And you're the one out here learning all these life lessons.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this isn't adding up right. I don't think that I don't think the prince is who I think he is, but I would never have guessed the insanity that is, oh, you're an OC.
I figured we were pointing toward like yes, the main character, who, by the way, I should note, when it's like, hey, what's your name? And also name the protagonist, which I feel like didn't pay off in a really meaningful way.
Not really.
But anytime a game does this and it doesn't give me like this is the standard name, I Google that shit. I'm like, does this affect anything? What happens? I don't know. I'm paranoid. And apparently, if you like, people were pulling data out of the game that the game internally refers to him as Will.
Mm-hmm.
So I named him Will. Man, that really paid off during the Prince scene.
Yeah, it did.
He do be lingering.
Jesus. You know, I'd been seeing a lot of people refer to him as Will online, so I guess that fully explains that.
Mm-hmm. But I really thought we were pointing toward like, yes, we're doing this all for the prince to restore the rightful heir, and that he was going to die, and Will was going to be the king, and that would be cool because he was chosen by the people because he's all cool and protagonisty.
Mm-hmm.
And then it turns out, no, guys, everything's fine. It turns out he's descended from royalty, so everything's working the way it should be. Get back in line, you fucking peasants.
Yeah, it does suck in that way.
Then you've got Luis, who is just, I mean, the guy is full tilt, let's all move to pirate land libertarian. Like, no, my world will be fair because it'll be based on who's strongest, which is me.
So I will kill all of you.
Right? Deafening silence. Like I was walking through fucking Sun Mumio Street in Grand Trad, and like one of the ambient dialogues was like, oh man, when Luis is king, he'll save all the poor people. I'm like, do you not listen to the shit that he says? And that's playing this game right after the American election was not super great all the time.
No, I wrapped this game on election night. That wasn't good.
Oh no.
That was not a good time.
But it was fascinating to watch the power struggle between these two ideals, where on the one hand you have Luis and the libertarian tendency to move straight into authoritarian fascism, and over here with the party, you've got the libertarian tendency to give in to monarchy if it means they get to forsake any responsibility.
But it's okay. He's going to be a good monarch.
He's going to be a good I'm like, we had a flying God Rock in the Sky be like, here's how we're going to do it. You guys get to pick who's going to be king. And they're like, no, thank you. The prince, please. I mean, I get that he's a cool guy and he really helped and he was going to be good at it, but I mean, fucking still.
No, I get it. Like it feels like the prince is written as the prince by necessity of the story. Like, that's why I had that weird crisis of like, what's actually happening in chapter 2? It was like, it would make a lot of sense if he wasn't actually the prince, but it's easier to write if he is. Like, he has all these connections to like get this cool runner and have all these magic powers.
Remember, Stroll was like, but you know what it's like to be an outcast because you were an outcast too. I'm like, Stroll, this guy is 3 months old. He was an OC phantom, and then he mind morphed into a prince. Go fuck yourself. I can't stay mad at Stroll. I love Stroll so much.
Yeah, Stroll is great. Like, every one of these characters is great.
There are no misses. It's wild how much I loved these characters. How much I loved all the, like, every time they just sat around and talked about bullshit and Hulkenberg wanted to eat a weird thing.
Yeah, and that's all the stuff that they nailed in Persona, so it makes sense they were able to bring it over to this. And I feel like they did even better this time. Like, usually Persona has like a miss somewhere in it. Heck, like Gallica's a huge upgrade over Morgana, the cone-like sidekick that goes around as your main character in 5.
God, Gallica was just top shelf the whole game through. I was impressed. I'm like, you made a fairy character that never shuts the fuck up. And I'm always glad to see her. Yeah.
I always actually really found the fairy lore interesting. Of you meet the random fairies throughout all the cities as you go through the game, and they're total weirdos. They're just jerks.
Yeah, they're straight up like they act more like the Fae.
Right?
And they're like, Gallica, you're fucking weird. She's like, what? No. Oh, wait, maybe?
Yeah, the very end of the game, there was like, yeah, no, you are really weird.
It does make you wonder how much she was affected by the prince's weird out-of-body OC experience.
It does feel very directly related.
Just, he experiences himself into the universe, and the first thing that magic does is go, all right, I am a prince, I need an attendant. You mind dominate.
There are the old stories you read in the Elda's homeland of, oh yeah, the first king had something like this going on too, where the fairy that hung out with him just became more and more sentient. And they called her the queen, but it was like, no, it's just a title though. They definitely, he wasn't married to the fairy, I swear.
Yeah, he didn't fuck this fairy.
It's like, I don't believe you for even a second.
Oh my God, this is a terrible time to bring it up. But I appreciated the size she was. It's a size of mystical creature I've always felt you don't see enough of, like a foot tall.
Yeah, she is like really tall for a fairy, and I think that does make her stand out more, makes her easier to see. I always liked the thing at the very beginning where she can magic music into your head. I was like, is that supposed to be the whole game soundtrack?
Man, if so, she is spitting.
Yeah, no, that's crazy.
I mean, like, the main combat theme through the whole game, every time it came on, I'm like, how is this song so good that this isn't completely fucking weird?
Yeah, I had the thought of, it's like been 100 hours. Shouldn't you have switched it out by now? But I'm like, I don't want them to, though. God, the ones they did switch out, though, like every time you got to a new part, a new upgrade for your runner, it now had a new song, and every one of those songs was really good.
Oh my God, the runner is just great. It's super weird, off-kilter design, like oddly biological legs. They're like, you need a gauntlet runner. I'm like, what's a gauntlet runner? That sounds like a mech in a show I wouldn't watch.
And that was.
Did you figure out, speaking of the gauntlet runner, how the bathroom worked?
No. I forgot there was a bathroom.
Oh, poor you. So in addition to like getting free stuff from the pantry and 100 XP for taking a shower, if you took a shit on a day that was a multiple of 5, it bumped your luck by 1.
That's really smart. That's hilarious.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Oh my god. So the weird thing about this game's like the big twist in the middle is it was both like, what the fuck? And also called it, because when they start introducing the tribes around, which by the way, it's a mark of how good this game is that they gave you 8 new fantasy races who on a broad spectrum aren't really all that different looking except for the Ujif.
Yeah.
And untransformed Nydia. And by halfway through the game, I like actually remembered all of their ridiculous names. Like I did not expect that to be the case when I played the demo.
This game is good at introducing concepts and naming them, and just having memorable names. Like Mogla just worked. Like usually when you come up with a fake magic name for magic, it just sucks. And it's like, I'm just calling it magic. What are you talking about?
Right? Yeah, that one, it stuck around. They made it work. But as soon as they're like, you're an Elda, I'm like, wait, so the people that don't have weird shit on their head are, oh my god, are they just regular humans? But then they started calling other shit humans. I'm like, okay, wait, no, there's something else going on here. And then we get under the Dragon Temple. I'm like, you motherfucker, I know exactly what's going on here.
I actually saw that twist coming so far away that when you said the big middle of the game twist, I was like, that was a twist.
Did they telegraph that beforehand?
It was a bunch of stuff with the novel relating directly to that, or to, you know, stuff of the real world. And then
right. See, I figured that was going to be part of the like, oh, who are you? And like your name's on a scroll in academia payoff that didn't really happen.
But really just naming your main monster human, I was like, okay, there's only one thing that can happen here.
I figured there was some kind of magic apocalypse. I didn't think it happened to. I mean, like, I don't know. Did they clearly state that's supposed to be Earth and not just like humans build skyscrapers everywhere? It's evolutionary determinism.
I'm pretty sure that there's directly stuff you find in that in that area that's like, no, this is Shibuya. Like you find.
Oh yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Yeah, it's even like called Shibuya on the maps. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not just, oh, this could be anywhere, but it's humans.
So wild in the end when it turned out Luis was just wearing Clamar face.
Yeah, and he got the coolest horns. I guess that should have been a giveaway, honestly.
I'm like, has no one else ever tried this? Because literally the only way you're differentiating these tribes, again, except for the Ujif and the Nydia, are really superficial things you can apparently just make.
Look, it took his expertise. He was an Elda. He came from this ancient race who had all this extra technology, really good at doing blackface.
I love how after the whole Altabury Dracadios production, fuck, that got dramatic. Saints Day.
Oh, you mean 9/11?
I do. I mean 9/11. What the fuck?
Never forget. I feel like they have to have intentionally put Saints Day on 9/11. Like they like
know. You can't just accidentally do that. They're like, no, it's where it happened in the calendar. We can't move the days now.
Whoops. That's weird. It looks like you rewrote the calendar so it would happen exactly there, and then you made this new calendar. It's 5 days a week. And you even have the characters have lines that joke about how much more difficult it is to deal with 7 days a week.
I do love how it's like, okay, we have to kill Luis to save the prince. Oh, wait, no, we don't. We have to kill that guy. Oh, that guy's dead. Okay. Oh, shit, Rella. And then we're doing this whole storyline. Like, oh, man, this is really sad. And that didn't work. Okay, so we all still hate Luis, right? Yeah? No, we're still going to kill him? Yeah, I mean, he's just an asshole. Yeah, no, let's go kill Luis.
Yes. We need to do this. Come on.
Even Stroll at the end of the game is like, okay, Luis, I get what you're saying, and it sucks what happened to you, but also No.
Like, dude, really? That's your okay. I'm glad the way they did the Rella thing, because when they first introduced the concept of, oh, she's betraying you and all this, I was like, I don't buy this for a second. Because she does a bunch of stuff that obviously helps you and then acts evil immediately. And so I would love that then they immediately fly out there like, yo, we've known you for like your whole life. You're lying to us. And she's just like, shut up, and then kills herself. It's like, I was so afraid that was going to end up being the next major arc of the game. There'd be like a whole month of it. Or that she would just have become generically evil in a way that makes no sense.
Yeah, that was a terrifying few minutes of like, no, oh God, did the writing just tank?
I was really upset I didn't get her or Kisserina on my team. It's like, you have these two pink-haired girls that are really cool, and you're like, nah, sorry.
God, then there's one of the other contenders for the throne is that yellow Ujif, the mechanic with the hammer. And every time I encountered her, I'm like, okay, like, Heisme, seriously, you're really, really cool.
That character specifically actually made me think about if they do like a Persona 5 Royale thing of it. The only place I could see expanding is other Gauntlet Runner characters like her or him. I'm not sure. Where you see them like once or twice and then they're just gone. Like you literally fight her once and then your ship pilot's like, yo, I'll get you out of the situation. You don't need to fight anymore. And they're like, oh, cool. Great.
This is like, I'll give you a shit ton of money. Oh, yeah, no, that solved my problem. Really? That's all it took? Yes, Will. That's all it takes for most people. They just need some more money.
Huh. Weird. I've never looked at it that way. Okay, who didn't tell the king his son was alive? Like, there's a secret sect of the royal guard that somehow Hulkenberg didn't know about, and they didn't even tell the king he was okay.
I think it was just like it was the Elda village mostly doing that, and also the king sucks.
He does.
Like, that guy just sucks.
Part of the reason he sucks is because he just gave up all hope when his son was dead. But he already kind of sucked before that, so I don't know.
I think he kind of gave up when his wife died.
He did, but then he says that he gave up even more when he was like, my son's also dead. It's over.
Lost additional little bit of hope he didn't know he had. It's really apparent, and this kind of sucks, how much the follower events and the way they're strung together, like Hulkenberg's, Stroll's, and Heisme's are really thought out for this format. Most of the rest of them are not.
No, because they get introduced so late, they have to let you kind of run through them as fast as possible.
And they do a bunch of shit like Will, like I think it's in Barden's, Will goes outside and hears someone in an alley go, oh, I'm going to kill that guy. And Will's like, huh, I wonder what he meant by that. Goes back to the Gauntlet Runner. I keep leaving you on these weird cliffhangers.
Yes.
Like, let's go get the guy who killed my mother whenever you've got a free afternoon.
Right. Yeah, at least with Yufa, you could have the suspension of disbelief of like, yeah, that concert's going to happen. I don't know when, so whenever I have a free time, it will.
You did, Bob, you just did what I do constantly and what sometimes I do in the menu, mixed up Juna and Yufa.
Yes, I did.
Because their names are too similar, so are their really incredibly stylized profiles when you're switching characters.
Yes, I made that mistake on many times. It's like, but Yufa's like my favorite character in the game. How do I keep doing this? It's just the names are too close.
The two of them specifically, I have a complaint about their costumes.
Okay.
For Juna, I mean, her costume's great. Like the mod 60s dress, it's really cool. I really loved it until the end of the game when she showed up in like the witch outfit from the Mage Academy, and I'm like, it's horseshit that I didn't get this outfit for the whole game.
New Game Plus. They need to add it.
And Yufa, I'm upset that I couldn't put her helmet back on and make her look like a Xeon mobile suit again.
okay, there's something weird with the helmet thing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they need to fully explain like the religious reason for the helmet, because at the end of her story with her dungeon, they have her like break out of the helmet and realize her true self and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And then she just has the helmet with her all the time anyway. She just stops wearing it. And other people are still like, her brother also doesn't really wear it much. It's just a weird dichotomy.
I never ran into anything that really explained the mask. I figure it's got to be in the game somewhere. Was it just because they wear them on the island, so it's not a I'm hiding my third eye thing.
Right. And they must, because I didn't get to talk to every one of the people in the streets that you can talk to that has like, use some time with them to boost a stat. And there are some that are people of that religion that will give you more information about the religion.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably in there.
Yeah, that's where I figure it must be. While I'm nitpicking, I wanted to cycle back around to the admittedly really cool encounter system where you've got all these different attacks based on your currently equipped archetype, and you beat a character until you break its stun bar, and then you do that cool stylized pa-cha, and time slows down, and you get to go into the squad battle.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, really cool. I never ended up in an ambush situation where I felt like everything was working correctly and that was my fault and this is totally fair.
They can feel pretty cheap, but they give you so many iframes. I wasn't too upset, and I played a lot of this game as the gunner class, and that was a lot of, yo, you're 12 feet away. It's time to start the fight.
See, I played this game as the mage class, where if you spam square a couple of times, you'll do the first hit, and then you'll go into the second hit. And the second hit is a long-ass animation you are locked into. And some enemies, like those skeletons, can come from across the room behind you. And sometimes when they run into your attack, they get repelled, and sometimes they don't. And sometimes you're dodging away from one of those legged fish bastards, and he just does a short hop and kicks you right at the end of your roll before you're in control of your character again.
Yeah. No, there are a lot of complications from adding an action game element to a turn-based game like this.
Mm-hmm.
So it went better than it could have, but I could definitely see it having those problems.
I was really glad by the end of the game. I think it might have been one of Heismay's special abilities, where it's like, yeah, escaping from battle just works.
Yeah, that is very nice. And one of the other abilities of just like, yeah, you see every weakness. It's like, oh, okay, sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was a really good example of like they kept giving you abilities that just like, yes, the utility, not just the number go up.
Mm-hmm.
All right, much like this game itself, we are starting to run a little long here. So, Bob, did you have anything else you wanted to get off your chest about Metaphor ReFantazio?
Let me see. I don't think so. I think we covered most things. It was super obvious that Grius was going to die. Like, that old man did not have the sauce of a main character of one of these games.
Like, why doesn't he get his own archetype? Is that a thing about the system? Is there going to be a lot of... No, he's just dead.
Yeah.
He lasted just long enough to where I'm like, oh, shit, yeah, we're going to have this grizzled veteran character. That's going to be cool.
Right. That would have been kind of cool. Nah, you don't get that. I also really like the merchant lady.
Mm-hmm.
Her vendetta for her dog is incredible. She was about to go burn a whole village for her.
Oh, she's so good. There were a couple of conversations, especially among the party members. This reminded me because I saw that tweet of people complaining, like they put up a picture of Hulkenberg and Brigitte. Like, are you telling me I can't romance these bad bitches? There were a few conversations, especially Yufa, but Juna and to a lesser extent Hulkenberg, where I'm like, was there a romance component that they were maybe going to do in this game and took out?
It does feel like it at some points, because at the end of Yufa's Island, there's that thing where you get to select who you go to the final thing with, the party with. And I actually watched all of those, and some of them are very, like, you can tell there's some romantic undertones, like even the stroll one.
Yeah.
But it's really, really obvious for Gallica and Yufa. It's like, yo, this was here, right?
The first time you shake Yufa's hand, she kind of freaks out, and I went, "Oh God, are we island married now?"
Yes.
It is hard to overstate how charmingly this game is written.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's one other thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know the cat that's always in the fantasy realm with more.
Yes.
I liked finding out, like, they teased it's going to be something, or it might be something else. It might be like your mom or something. It's like, no, that's just a cat.
Yeah.
I'd like that so much, because at the end of the game, it's like, yeah, this cat just showed up in the academy. I don't know what's up with that.
Like, I went in there, I made sure to pet it every time. I'm like, there's probably an achievement or some shit, or it's going to give me an item. And so I pet that cat every time I went into academia. But the last time you go there, the cat's gone. And I'm like, oh no. Oh God, did I fuck up? Did I forget one time? Is this my fault? Then Juna shows up. Hey, I got this cat. I'm keeping it. Like, I found a cat in this abandoned building wearing a magic weapon. It's mine.
Yeah. Seems normal.
Man, we really didn't do a whole lot with apparently the Nydia are chibi gnomes.
No, not really. I think it's a neat concept, but it is just that. It's not any more than that.
It's really great how like all of these fantasy races are descended from original humans, but they were like warped and changed by magic. And then like, okay, yeah, I can see how that. And then you see a Ujif over there. Dude.
It mostly got him.
Were you right? Like, were you standing in front when this happened?
I like the idea that those, like, the Yufa's race is like the gnomes of this universe. Like, oh, you need the gnome race, but you didn't want to show them. You wanted to hide that.
Once again, I think you mean Juna.
Oh my God, I did it again. I could have sworn I put a J in there.
It never ends.
No. Having waited 3 weeks or so for the spoiler cast also adjusted to my mind.
Mm-hmm. It's hard enough coming fresh off the dome.
But that's all I wanted to get out. Did you have anything else?
I believe in other formats, on other days, I have spoken certain truths about certain German knights' chosen hairstyles that I don't think I need to repeat on this spoiler cast. So I think we're going to wrap things up here. This is the ultimate culmination of the spoiler cast, in which we are going to once again sort of go over what this game is in its entirety and give it an arbitrary score from 1 to 10. And I think just to change things up this time, we're going to start with Bob Video Games.
What? But I started last time. Oh my God. I must be super lucky.
Man, how many times did you shit at the end of the week?
Metaphor ReFantazio is incredible. It's great. It's my favorite RPG in a long time, which is saying a lot because there have been a lot of good RPGs recently. That's not like a putting down other RPGs. Like Unicorn Overlord came out. SMT5 was great. Octopath Traveler 2 was really good. But I like this a whole lot. I recommend it heavily. If you can't tell from us yammering on for probably an hour and a half. So I'm giving it a 10. It is right up. It might be one of the best this team's games. Like with Persona 3 through 5 and then this. I don't know.
As Bob said, Metaphor is, I mean, it's a beautiful expression of what this genre of game is capable of. There is an enormous amount to love here. There's a wonderful story to go get lost in. There's interesting and varied mechanics at every level of the game. This is just, it's a great video game. It's got some weird pacing things for me and a couple of odd mechanics that I feel like hurt it, but it's one of those games that it's just too good to really be weighed down by it. It buoys everything else with the enormity of its accomplishment. I give this game an easy and a strong 9.
You know, we got through this whole thing. We didn't even talk once about the incredibly obvious metaphor of, oh yeah, it's your anxiety becomes magic, and that's what you need to control to succeed. Which I feel like we'd just be weird to not mention that at any point during this whole spoiler cast.
I don't know. I feel like they broke it down to that. You ever feel like everything from Japan has the same moral of looking toward the future and always trying your best?
Yeah.
I want to fuck Hulkenberg's bangs.
The executive producers for this GigaBoots video are Esme, Ely Broyles, Spaceman Spiff, Red Blaze 27, Brendan O'Sullivan, A Reminder for Symphony of War, Cooper Tank, Very Best Plot, Iconic Bane, and Rado. Thank you very much to our executive producers. And also these guys. If you want to become an executive producer or normal patron, head on over to patreon.com/gigaboots today.